The world is on edge.
I am here today, not to start a war, but to prevent one.
And waiting to see what Russia's next move is. A child in Florida.
I feel like this is the new pickpocket.
Accused of taking a lot more than money you keep in your wallet. And when a dog is in distress,
good girl,
you call Miami Beach Fire Rescue. These stories and more coming up on Newsbreak.
Hello, South Florida. I'm Zitlali Salache.
I'm Anya Joseph. Today's Friday, February 18, 2022.
From the South Florida Media Network's Biscayne-based studios in North Miami, this is SFMN Newsbreak.
A high-stakes trip today for Vice President Harris. She just met the UN Secretary General in Munich, Germany. She's taking the lead in the U.S. diplomatic effort to try and stop a war. The Vice President is representing the U.S. at today's Munich Security Conference in Germany.
Russia claims to be moving units away from the Ukrainian border, but it now appears there are more troops, not less, in the area. The network's Christopher Gomez has more on this.
More tension along the Ukraine-Russia border as America tries to use diplomacy as a solution to the crisis. President Joe Biden warning that an invasion of Ukraine could happen within the next several days.
Every indication we have is they're prepared to go into Ukraine, attack Ukraine.
Despite the Kremlin's claim that it pulled some forces back, the U.S. says Russia has added 7,000 troops along the Ukrainian border in recent days. These estimates would place the total number north of about 150,000 according to U.S. officials.
The basic principles that sustain peace and security, principles that were enshrined in the wake of 2 world wars and a Cold War, are under threat.
Secretary of State Anthony Blinken appeared before the United Nations yesterday morning, claiming Russia plans to manufacture a justification to invade Ukraine.
I am here today, not to start a war, but to prevent one.
Meanwhile, Russia has expelled the second most senior diplomat at the U.S. Embassy in Moscow, in what the Biden administration views as an escalatory move. The step comes as the Kremlin sent a written response to U.S. security proposals, saying the, quote, increasing U.S. and NATO military activity close to Russian borders is alarming. This is according to the Russian state media.
It will be Mr. Putin who will bear the responsibility for the suffering and the immense sacrifice that ensues.
And the first shots fired against Ukraine yesterday, but not from the Russian government. Russian separatist forces launched 2 shells at a kindergarten near the border. No one was hurt. The U.S. Congress also now sending a message to Russia warning of military action. The Senate passing a resolution condemning the Kremlin for its aggression towards Ukraine.
This was a very significant resolution that we passed. It sends a very strong message to Mr. Putin that the United States Senate, Democrats and Republicans of all different ideologies, are united in defending Ukraine.
The move mostly symbolic, though, as a bill pushing towards sanctions did not pass. For the South Florida Media Network, I'm Christopher Gomez.
The latest now from our Washington, D.C. bureau. Nearly 20 years ago, 2 men known as the D.C. Snipers terrorized the Washington area, randomly shooting and killing 10 people and injuring 3, including a child. Now, as the network's Daniela Jaramillo reports, one of them wants a judge to reconsider his sentence.
Attorneys for Lee Boyd Malvo asked Maryland Court of Appeals to reconsider his life sentence without parole, based on a 2012 U.S. Supreme Court decision that bars life sentences without parole for juvenile offenders. Malvo was 17 at the time. Those who recall the 3-week killing spree in October 2002 say this about Malvo's request.
Everything should be considered when you're looking at a situation like that. I recall when it occurred that that he was basically under the spell, it appeared, of this person that apparently brainwashed him into thinking that this was okay to do.
Well, they can reconsider it, but like I said, to me, he's still the guy that shot the kid at the school. Will I feel safe? No.
Everybody needs to, have their opportunity to redeem themselves. And if you can prove that you can do that, then you should be given the opportunity. So 50 years, 100 years from now, they'll still be saying, no, he should never get out.
Malvo is currently in jail in Virginia. He's eligible for parole this year. If granted, he would start his sentence in Maryland since he was convicted in both states. A decision on Malvo's sentencing request in Maryland could take several months. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Daniela Jaramillo for SFMN.
Approximately $1 billion worth of cocaine and marijuana is off the black market this morning after it's confiscated by the U.S. Coast Guard. The big haul of drugs was unloaded by the Coast Guard Cutter James crew at Port Everglades Thursday. Their 90-day patrol broke records. It was among the largest single cocaine and marijuana interdictions, as well as the greatest amount of illegal narcotics found in an Eastern Pacific patrol.
A woman in Central Florida says the 12-year-old boy asked to borrow her phone and then used it to steal thousands of dollars of her money. Shannon Fraser, who was out shopping in Orlando, says she was walking her dog when a boy asked to borrow her phone because he couldn't find his friends and family. He ended up clearing $4,000 out of her checking account using a Venmo app.
I feel like this is the new pickpocket. He's like, can I please use your phone to call them? Your first instinct is help a kid, like immediately, without thinking. And of course, hindsight's 20/20, but I just handed him my phone.
She says Venmo credited the amount that was taken, and her next call was to the police.
A unique collection started by Florida wildlife officers causing quite the buzz around town.
That's still ahead, and so is this story.
It's okay.
The dog is treading water for its life until Miami Beach Fire Rescue is called in. Newsbreak will be back in 2 minutes.
If a natural disaster shows up at your doorstep, you can't just turn it away. That's why it's important to prepare for emergencies before they show up. Go to ready.gov/plan to find the tools and tips you need. And make a plan today.
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right. Because a few hours ago, in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign. Not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a fourth ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
Last second save after a pup has a doggy paddle for its life in Biscayne Bay.
Florida authorities save a furry friend in distress after a fall in the bay. Miami Beach Fire Rescue were called to the scene after a dog treaded a little too close to the edge while out walking with their owner. A crew member used a roof ladder to lower himself to rescue the dog.
Good girl. Good girl. Go down and back him up for it.
In typical fashion, the dog shook off the water once on land and seemed to be in good shape, considering the circumstances.
If you think you have been attacked by 1 million mosquitoes, you have to see what that actually looks like thanks to researchers in Florida. The 1 million mosquitoes were trapped in an area of Sunnyvale Island in the summer of 2021. The purpose was to investigate if trapping is good for mosquito control. As soon as they posted the picture on Twitter, it became viral.
That's all the time we have for Newsbreak today. I'm Anya Joseph.
And I'm Zetlali Solache. Get more news anytime at sfmn.fiu.edu.